Hello guys, welcome back to the channel for another Azure video. Today we are going to see how Azure Stream Analytics works. We are going to do a very simple step-by-step practical example. But first, Azure Stream Analytics is a very useful Azure component that you can use to process large volumes of streaming data using SQL. No need to learn another language. Only by using SQL you can filter and transform the data in motion. It can process millions of events per second with very low latency and scale out based on your workload. And it's so easy to integrate with other Azure components. The only things you have to do is to provide an input and an output, and then you can start querying the streaming data. It cannot get easier than this. Plus, we can have multiple inputs and multiple outputs. Another cool thing about Azure Stream Analytics is that it's a fully managed service, meaning you don't have to provision any hardware. You just focus only on the business logic. It is also optimized for cost. You pay only the streaming units you consume. This is a diagram I took from the documentation demonstrating how Azure Stream Analytics works. As you can see, we have EventHub, IoT Hub, and Blob Storage as inputs, then a Stream Analytics cluster which allow us to process and filter the data in motion, and we can have multiple outputs like Azure Functions, storage accounts, CosmosDB, Power BI, if you want real-time dashboards and other Azure components. If you think about it, Stream Analytics act as a middleman who can process the streaming data and provide directions for the destination. In our example, we are going to use an EventHub as an input, which will receive JSON data from our laptop in Python. Stream Analytics will connect to EventHub and process the data using SQL, and we are going to have three outputs: a storage account, a Cosmos DB container, and an SQL database. And we are going to do that in one go. So the first thing we need to do is to create apparently a Stream Analytics job. So if you type Stream Analytics job and click on the Stream Analytics job here, click on Create. Select your resource group and then select the name. So Stream Analytics, region for me is West Europe, here. Cloud, and leave everything as is. Streaming units, just use the minimum streaming units because we don't have a complicated example. We just want to demonstrate how Azure Stream Analytics works. So click on Next, and then you can add the storage account, but I have already created. Click on Review and Create. Create the resource, and here, now let's wait for the deployment to finish, and you will see the Azure Stream Analytics environment. Go to Resource, and as you can see here, we have the inputs, that it's empty now. Then we have the outputs, where we are going to define our destinations, and we have the query that is going to get the data from the input, process the data based on your query, of course, and place the data into your output destination. Okay, now that we have the Stream Analytics job, we need an input. Let's create an EventHub so we can send data to our EventHub from our local environment using Python. Click on Create a Resource, search for EventHub, select EventHubs, create, select your resource group, namespace name, let's say EventHub West Europe, that's fine. Use the basic pricing tier. Throughput units is 1, that's fine. And leave everything as is. Review and create. Create the EventHub namespace. Now this is, we're going to deploy an EventHub namespace, but then we have to create an EventHub, right? Let's wait for the deployment to finish. Our EventHub namespace is ready. Click on Go to Resource and Here, scroll down on the left panel, click on EventHub, and click on New EventHub, create an EventHub. Let's call it again Apple EventHub, the same name as the EventHub namespace, and leave everything as is. We don't want to capture the data right now because we have already a storage account, review and create. And we are going to create this EventHub now. It's very easy to send data from your local environment, from your Python application, by using this code here. So if you search for how to send events using Python, you have to install these libraries here with pip install Azure EventHub libraries, Azure identity, and all these kind of things. And then if you scroll down and click on the connection string, you can use this version. You can also use the connection string version. I used this one. So just copy the code from here, paste it on your VS Code, and let me switch to VS Code now. And here I have modified the Python script a little bit just to send, let's say, some random data, JSON data, into our EventHub. Of course, I have to provide the connection string and the EventHub name. So let's copy that from Azure EventHub. Go back to your EventHub, and actually here into EventHub namespace, you will scroll down and you will find under share access policies, you will find a policy here, which is the default policy. And this is here we can get the primary key, the secondary key, and the connection string. The connection strings actually. As you can see, it's the manage button here is ticked. If you only have send or listen, it's not enough. You don't have enough permissions. You have to use the manage, tick the manage box here. So copy the connection string, place it to your Python script here, and then provide the EventHub name, Apple EventHub. That's fine. So if I save this, now I'm going to run this Python code, and it's going to send this dictionary, this JSON, into our EventHub. Click on Overview, and you will see here, if you wait for a few minutes, for a couple of minutes, you will see here, yeah, a spike. That means we received a JSON, some data, right? Now, if we go to Azure Stream Analytics, and in the inputs, now we don't have anything. So we have to add an input, and that would be our EventHub, right? So click on EventHub, provide an alias, input EventHub. Select your subscription, your EventHub namespace, use the existing one, authentication mode. Let's use connection string, and use the existing, the root managed shared access key. That's fine. JSON format. Leave everything else as it is. Click on save, and now we have an input, right? Now, if you go into the query, you will see by default it gives you this query. So here you have to place your output, but we don't have an output yet, and your input. Let's remove that, and let's select from our input, and that would be our input EventHub. So as you can see here, there is a pencil next to the input EventHub. That means that it's correct that we are using this input. If you wait a few seconds, it will going to refresh and fetch the data from the input. Otherwise, just click on refresh, and it's going to fetch the data from the EventHub, right? Wait for a couple of seconds, and the data will appear here. Perfect. If you want to run the query, select the query and click on test selected query, and this will give you the test results. Now we are getting everything. Let's create our output destinations now, because now, okay, we can fetch the data from our input, which is the EventHub. Now we have, to store the data into a few destinations. Our first destination would be a storage account. So here I have a storage account. I have a container called output, and here we are going to place the data, right? But first, we have to create an output here in our Stream Analytics job. Go on Outputs, add an output, and use blob storage data lake. Output, let's call this storage output. That's fine. Select blob storage as the identity connection string, and then save as, let's say, CSV, comma separated files, and we are good to go. Click on save, and now it's going to test the connection between Azure Stream Analytics and the storage account. By default, as you can see, it is testing the connection right now. If everything goes according to plan, yeah, the connection would be successful. The second destination is our database. So I have created a database. Let me show you the database here. Let's go into Query Editor. And let's create a table. Let's create a table that we are going to place the data. Let me paste my query here. So create table. Let's call it test_stream_analytics. And it will have, let's say, the drink name and the average price of that drink. Click on OK. Perfect. So we have a table now in our database, and let's point to this table from Stream Analytics. So click here, add output, click SQL database at the bottom, database output, provide the name, database output, and then select your table, load existing tables. You have to provide, the credentials. Provide the credentials here to load the tables. Test analytics, that's fine. SQL authentication, and click on save. It is testing the connection now between Azure Stream Analytics and the database. Hopefully that would be successful too. Let's wait. Yep, that's fine as well. And the last destination is a CosmosDB. Now here, let's create, I have already created a CosmosDB. Let's create a new database called Stream Analytics. Stream Analytics, then autoscale, that's fine. Container ID, let's call that stream, just stream data. And here the partition key would be drink name, and we are going to get the max value based on this drink name, because we are going to use group by in our queries in Azure Stream Analytics. So this is fine as well. Okay, let's move to Azure Stream Analytics and add another input, and that could be our CosmosDB. CosmosDB output. Select your account ID, the database, the container name, connection string, click on save. In theory, that would create our last connection with CosmosDB. Okay, that was successful as well. So now it's time to go into our query here. First, let's replace the output, and that would be here not database, storage output. As you can see here now, the storage output would have a pencil next to it. Yeah, that means it is selected in a query. It is been it is being used in a query, and from, that would be our input EventHub, right? Well, apparently I missed a T here. EventHub, yeah. Right now EventHub is being used as an input, and let's wait for the results. Let's test the query, and we should get one record like before. Yeah, perfect. This is one query. This is the first query that copies the data from EventHub to our storage account. Now let's create a second query for our database output. Copy the first query, and here just use drink name, and let's calculate the average of drink price, right? Drink price as average price into our database output. And what happened here? Yeah, as you can see here, now we have to use group by. Now, of course, when we are using average, we have to use group by. But the thing here is when you use group by, it will still give you an error. So let's group by drink name. And still, we would be getting an error now under group by, because it says exactly one temporal window is expected. So when you group by, you have to use a window function. Here, let's use tumbling window and provide, let's say for us it's minutes. Every 10 minutes, just group by the data. See, now we are not getting any error. You can provide seconds here, but I prefer minutes for this demo. Our last query would be for the CosmosDB output. So again, let's perform a group by. Let's use max here. Get the max price, drink price, max price, and select CosmosDB output. And we can use, like 20 minutes or something, whatever you want. Again, we are grouping by drink name, and we have to provide a window function. Now let's save the query, and let's move to our Python code and send more data. Let's go into input preview and click on refresh. And in theory, we should be getting more results now, all the messages that we sent to EventHub, right? Give it a couple of seconds to load the data. As you can see here, we have 5 records as expected, with the drink name and the drink price. Of course, here in our select statement for the storage output, let's select drink ID, drink name, and drink price. We don't want the extra fields, drink price. If you run the selected query, and then it will give you all the results from the new data. Exactly the same with the other 2 queries. So select the second query that points to the database output, and that would give you the average price per drink. And here the output that goes to CosmosDB will give you the average price per drink, right? And this is how you create queries. Now, when you save the query here and you go into overview and you click on start, this is when we start the analytics job, and click on start now, right? Now you can see once you start the job, it will take a couple of minutes. It's not that fast, but you will see the event counts, the watermark delay, the errors, and that kind of stuff. So that's just wait for it to start the cluster. Okay, now the cluster has started, and now we are ready to send data into our EventHub, because now we are streaming from this point onwards. So we need to send more data. back to our Stream Analytics. As you can see, if you refresh here, you will see the updated data. You can see that the event counts and all this kind of stuff. And now we receive data from EventHub. We process the data using 3 different queries that point to 3 different destinations. In the first one, in our storage account, we just select some columns. Here we perform a group by and we find the average price, and this data is going to be stored in our database. And here we perform a max for the drink price that stores the data into CosmosDB. Let's see our CosmosDB actually. So let's refresh here and see if we get something. Yep, as you can see, we have the drink name and the ID, right? And here you would probably see the price as well, the max price. Perfect. This is in CosmosDB. Let's go into our database, and here let's select from the table, and you can see the average price here and the drink name. And last but not least, we have the storage account. Let's go to our storage account, and we should be able to see CSV files. Now here, this is a CSV file. If you click here, you will see the drink ID, drink name, drink price. This is how you process streaming data using SQL in Azure Stream Analytics. It is as simple as that. I believe it's quite clear how amazing it is to transform streaming data without any fuss. This is it for today, guys. I hope it was not overwhelming. I made it as simple as possible. If you found the video helpful, please leave a comment, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.